This is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNNLive. We're at the Marcum MicroCap Conference 2015 right here in New York City. Matt Oakes, Direct Insite, publicly traded company, and the symbol is DIRI. Matt, welcome back to SNNLive.
Thank you for having me. Very nice to see you again.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Let's give the audience an overview on the company, and then we'll get into it a little bit.
Sure. So a little bit of progress. Direct Insite, publicly traded, DIRI. We're about 50 people. We're in the AP and AR automation space, but recently we've really jumped into a new offering called Paybox, which is a white label solution sold through banks to large corporations to provide their accounts receivable services.
Well, accounts receivable,
right, exactly.
I one time I said to someone, without sales, you don't need anybody else.
That's right.
But if you don't collect receivables, you have no money.
You don't need any sales. You can't pay your salespeople.
You can't pay your salespeople.
Right. Yeah.
So let me ask you, how big a business is this?
So this is really an untapped market. Banks are looking to get closely tied with their large integrated, what I would consider to be, global 2,000 customers. So they're losing lockbox revenue. They're looking for a way to retain that revenue, but also tighten their relationships. And so I think banks are starting to move into now partnering with our large customers to provide an entire suite of services. And in that suite of services will be accounts receivable processing, or the invoicing piece. And along with that invoicing piece comes opportunities for supply chain finance and a lot of other things that come native to banks and their corporate partners.
Okay, so let me ask you in English.
Sure.
So therefore, if the bank is getting involved in helping the company with a white box solution to bring in their accounts receivable, isn't that going to also help the company borrow more money from the bank because they're more of a credible?
Really what it's going to do is it's going to shorten the DSO. So the company is going to work with a bank to invoice faster and electronically, which provides all the back-end opportunity for dispute management, but it also allows that DSO to drop. So now the banks, there's one or two less steps in there and you go from paper to electronic, which is going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And so you're going to start to see banks looking to retain the relationships they have, but aggressively pursue other relationships that they don't have.
Well, they're also going to have direct access to the calendar of how a company's being paid back. And so the other thing that I wanted to ask is, so it's a shared revenue model, right, with fee income going back to the bank, sort of like a collection agency almost in a way? Now, that's my question. Is it also a collection? Is that a component?
It's actually a very interesting, there's a couple models. One is just a straight transaction where right now a large corporation is probably paying anywhere between $1 to $2.50 to send an invoice. In this model, they can pay a transaction fee to the bank to process it and maybe send paper for a while, but more migrate towards electronic. But what banks are starting to think about is that the lockbox revenue has an interest piece to this. And what I'm talking about is dollar interest. And so I think aggressive banks will provide what they would call a interest-bearing lockbox and get that revenue back in there, hold it for the day, and that pays for the invoice processing. So they're really solving a litany of issues for that large corporate customer, solving a lot of their own internal issues and making a seamless process. And we're facilitating that.
Well, from my standpoint, what I see is, if I'm a bank and I'm doing that service for the lender, I might be more apt to look for clients that are willing to give me that processing business in order for me to control the money coming back into me.
That's right. Exactly right. So you're tying that corporate relationship tighter. You're providing them with a service that they don't have that at some point is going to be regulated or mandated by the government, right, like it is in Europe. Mm-hmm. And so all these things are coming. I think banks have a real interest in becoming that corporation's partner. They're the most trusted advisor, right? And then comes the accountant, and then comes the lawyer. Mm-hmm. So that bank relationship facilitates this.
But it really falls into your bailiwick because you're an outsourcing model anyway. So you're reducing the size of the direct cost of employees in those different departments.
Yeah, and I think there is obviously the headcount piece, but there's also, we've been doing this for a while. It's in our DNA. So we do IBM's global invoicing. We do it for some of the world's largest companies. And I think that we're able to leverage that experience to understand all the back-end migrations and then what needs to be done to do it in an efficient manner. Banks are starting to recognize the requirement to retain, but now get new relationships with their large corporate clients. And we're a good conduit for that. So I think it's a prime time for the offering.
So, Matt, how do you differentiate from everyone else in your space?
Well, I think what we offer is really the four legs of the stool for integrated receivables, which is everyone talks about providing that, but we have the invoicing piece. And so, the connection with a client and all that occurs across a lot of different companies that are in the bank service space now, but they're not the system of record. So they don't have the invoice. They don't have that kind of metadata they need on the dispute side. And so we complete that chain. I think we've made it faster, less expensive, more efficient, and in a much more convenient, secure environment, which is very important to banks and clients these days.
So what's on the horizon for the rest of this year and next?
So we're really looking to gain 3 or 4 more critical bank relationships. What happens, we had a traditional, and when you and I spoke 3 or 4 years ago, we were trying the direct sales model. As a small company, that's very hard. So what we've done is we've taken a channel approach. We're trying to find 3 or 4 more key bank clients and probably cap it at that for the year, right? And not try and grow too fast. Do what we do well. And in each one of those banks, there'll be multiple opportunities, and the bank is really introducing us to those clients where I'd have a very hard time accessing directly. So as a trusted advisor, the bank has a pre-existing relationship. We can go in, cite our core competencies, do a very good job for those banks with their corporate clients and expand our portfolio and our revenue. And so I'm looking for 2 or 3 more bank clients this year and the associated large companies that would come with them, and then take a step back and look, at the mistakes we've made and how we can improve the product and the process. And then once again, next year, hit it again and just really continue to go into this space and that approach.
So just to add one topic to that. So you've already achieved critical mass. So to add another large client to 3, you're not really changing anything except maybe adding a server.
I think what's really great about what we've done over the last 3 or 4 years is we've cleaned up our balance from a corporate standpoint. We've cleaned up our balance sheet. We've eliminated our debt. We're running a profitable organization that's growing not as fast as I'd like. What's going to change that is this bank channel is going to give us access to a lot more opportunities. Our deployment cycle, actually, since the last time you and I talked, I think it was 8 to 9 months. We're now down under 90 days. So the company has grown up. We've matured. We've got our processes right, our back end right. So now when we go after that bank's client and get them into the system on behalf of the bank, it's not, it's going to take you X. Now it's going to be, you're going to be ready on this date and we're going to go. So we've grown up a lot as a company. I think we've signed a global bank, a global 3 bank, and we're implementing on behalf of them now. So that was a big step for us. We've maintained our legacy client base and really upgraded them into the new platform. And now I think we're positioned for real growth. So I'm very comfortable about where we are, the lessons we've learned, and the approach we're taking as we move forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a website for you, if you would, Matt.
Sure, www.directinsite.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Oakes, Direct Insite, that's INSITE, symbol DIRI. It's a publicly traded company. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you live from the Marcum MicroCap Conference 2015 here in New York City. Matt,
thanks,
a
Shelley.
pleasure to see you.
As always, great to see you again. I appreciate your help.
You got it.
Thanks, everyone.